Wicked, wicked, jungle is massive. Wicked, wicked, jungle is massive. Wicked,
welcome to your last lesson for R081 L03. So this is the last in the set of 7 lessons, and after the end of this lesson, your completed PowerPoint you need to upload to Microsoft Teams. After this, we've then got one more module or section of R081 we need to look at. So that will be then L04, sorry. So let me minimize this down to a bit of a smaller circle. Not as small as normal, just because I can obviously tell that you guys are probably missing me. So why not look at me, eh? So click on this. So and I'll move that as well, actually. Move over this side out of the way. So by the end of this lesson then, we'll be learning about file naming and version control. So on the PowerPoint you've already got R081 L03 with your name. You need that open obviously as you're working through this one. And first thing I want you to do is look at that screenshot there. And on your first slide, I want you to take a copy of that screenshot there, put it on, and I want you to tell me which section of that image or that folder contents here is the video advertisement itself. Okay, so I want you to look at this and I want you to tell me which one you think is the video advertisement itself. So like I say, put that onto your PowerPoint and tell me what that is. Then, so bit of, it's too big. Bit of information then. So file naming conventions. Naming conventions apply to any documents and files that you create. Practical descriptive names make it easier to identify the content of the file. So if you've got something that's easy to identify as that's what that is, like final advertisement, that's a bit easier to understand. In addition to using a descriptive name, version control can also be included in the naming. So by version control, we mean version 1, version 2. Okay, so final draft, version 1, final draft, version 2, things like that. The exam that this year's year 11s literally just did in January, there was a question on naming conventions in it. And when we got back into class after they'd all completed it, there was only 2 or 3 out of 20 that understood that what a naming convention was and had put something that was appropriate. Okay, so whenever we save our documents, whether it's for our subject or any subject, you should be using naming conventions so you understand what you're looking at, so you're not trawling through all of your documents trying to find what you need. So on your next slide, I want you to look at those 5 different naming conventions there. 3 for graphics, adverts, and 2 for a radio jingle, and discuss their suitability. So I want you to discuss what the suitability of them, why are they suitable, why are they not suitable, okay? And add that into the next slide on your PowerPoint. So this folder contents though, then, okay? Again, I want you to take a screenshot or take a copy of this folder structure here, okay? And I want you to identify which one of those is the latest version of the comic, okay? So take a copy of that, put it onto your PowerPoint, and what is the latest version of the comic even? So version control itself is a version number or revision reference. It can be included as part of a file name, such as file name version 1, version V 1.0, whatever. The choice is yours how you do it, but as long as it is linking to version and a number. When changes are made, then the updated file keeps the same basic naming structure, just change the version number. So you'd have it as version 1, version 2, version 3, version 4. So it's still the basic of file name, version 1, version 2, version 3, version 4. Okay. Date control then, that's an alternative way of doing it. So it's an alternative way of monitoring what you're doing and on what days. So you could have, like it says there, it'll have the specific date that file was created. Now I know that already comes up in your file structure as a date created, but you may work on it after, not created, but it's a date that's last been worked on. So to have it created, a creative date could be an option as well, but again could become confusing for some. So on your next slide, I want you to write down some ideas for different ways to show time or a date code in a file name. So come up with some file names, show different ways of showing date or time. A starting point for that would be for you guys to think about how it would be formatted in a spreadsheet. So think of spreadsheets, maybe even open an Excel document, have a go at how it would be formatted in one of those, because generally that's how you would put it into your file structure as well. That's how the computer understands it. Okay, so answer that on the next slide, please. Then some research. Right, you need to search the internet for a definition of what version control is. It can also be called revision control. Read through them so that you know why and how it can be done. Obviously, put those definitions into your PowerPoint. And what I'd like to see as well is where you got them from. So write down the web address you would have got those off, or who has written them. Then, without rereading through what you've just written, come up with your own definition of what you think version control is. Try to aim to do that in one sentence. Okay, so not only are you looking for a definition of what it is, but come up with your own definition as well, please. And that will be on your next slide. Then, next task for the day is to produce a list of possible file names that could be used in a media project in the following areas. So pre-production, work plan, draft production, draft final, and test plans. Okay, so I want you to come up with suitable file names for those 5 different areas of a product design or a pre-production documents, and I want you to indicate as well which ones you think might need some version control in it. So you're not only coming up with the file names themselves, but you need to be thinking about which areas of pre-production need version control. So hopefully this lesson, you get a bit more understanding of file naming conventions and version control, how and why, what's the point of it. So for your final task, again, it's testing your knowledge and understanding of file naming and version control. So without looking at your previous notes, you need to write down some examples of suitable file names for those 3 projects there. So pre-production visualization diagrams for website pages, first draft of a print graphic to review by a client, final version of an animation for web. So I want some file names for those. Okay, once you've done that, that's today's lesson pretty much done. So what you're going to need to do now is you're going to need to obviously make sure you've covered all 7 of the lessons within your PowerPoint. And sorry, my hay fever's playing up. And any of your supporting documents as well. You need to make sure they're all saved. So if you've created any digital sort of visualizations or whatever, or mind maps, things like that, if you've used different programs as well, happy days. Upload those images, those files to Teams for me. So all of that needs to be put onto Teams, onto your assignment. And your assignment, let me just minimize that down again. your assignment itself should be in here. Let's just double check. Yeah, R081, L03. So your assignment's already there. You need to make sure that you are uploading all of your work to that. So myself and Mr. Wells can have a look through and give you some feedback. Okay. Before I'm going to leave this lesson, L01 wasn't all submitted the best, really. So hopefully where L02 is due in now as well, hopefully that will be a lot better. And then this one again will be even better again. So the next module we're going to do is L04.